Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
Depeche Mode, the podcast. I'm your host, Jon Justice. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas. Yes, I know, I said I wasn't going to do an episode until after the first of the year. However, there's been a rumor that's been floating around now, and I'm not even sure how this ended up gaining new attention. I don't think that I've addressed this on the show before, but I've seen this particular rumor relating to a documentary being in the works floating around now for at least a couple of years. I mean, even going all the way back to Spirit. So I'm not going to read the article in its entirety. It comes from this website called Halftime News. And I'd mostly seen this talked about and the article shared up on Facebook. But now there are other individuals out there that are reporting about this potential in-depth Netflix documentary that's in the works. There is absolutely no confirmation about this whatsoever. The website, Halftime News, it seems to be nothing more than AI-generated clickbait articles. And this particular one is all over the map relating to the current status of the band, the passing of Fletch. There was a rumor going way, way back that Netflix was working on a documentary of the band, and this goes back to Spirit, and this was before Spirits in the Forest and the Anton Corbijn movie that came out, and I think there was a conflating of a couple of different issues. There was some speculation that this would end up on Netflix, but it ended up being just a regular release for the band. And somehow this rumor now has been recycled to the point where it's actually gaining some attention in the absence of not having any other news of the band. But listen, I can tell you right now there is zero official sources relating to this Netflix documentary. If you read the Halftime News article, you can tell that it reads like it was written by AI. A lot of unnecessary details relating to this project without being specific to release dates, who's producing it, comments from the band, comments from the label. So I am about 99.9% certain that this is a completely fabricated rumor relating to a potential Netflix documentary. Listen, I would love to see one, make no mistake. I thought one of the best documentaries ever done on the band, apart from what they've released officially, was the Behind the Music documentary that came out. Oh my gosh, this goes back to what, 1998? Would that be right? Right around the Singles tour, I think is when it ended. It was certainly post. Yeah, it was around the Singles tour because it was pre Sounds of the Universe. And I remember at the end, the most recent interviews that they had in the Behind the Music VH1 documentary were items that were, or interviews that were done post-Ultra. Dave had really cleaned up. His hair was short, and I do believe this was around the time of the Singles tour. So I would love to see an in-depth documentary. This, however, just seems like nothing more than a fake article that people have been sharing because they're, and I've done my internet scouring on this, by the way, so I've just kind of done my own research and kind of pulled in what I do full-time as a news talk show host. I mean, I have to go through and confirm a lot of the articles that are being written and the rumors that are out there, and this one, unfortunately, seems like it's completely fabricated. I do want to share one item with you, though, and I'm going to keep the podcast as short because I really just wanted to get on and share with you that particular news because I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this and getting excited, and I don't want to see people get their hopes up right now. The grosses for rock tours was released within the past week or so, a few days before Christmas, and I wanted to share with you. So this is the top 10. I'm just going to get to Depeche Mode on this one. The top 10 highest grossing rock tours of the year. Rock acts remain dominant among this year's biggest earners, responsible for 36% of every dollar made by the top 100 artists. That's more than double of any other style of music, but it's among the lowest yearly market shares in the genre's history. For 10 of the first 11 years of this century, rock owned more than half of the top 100. Of the last 12 years, excluding 2020 and 2021, due to venue closures amid the COVID-19 pandemic, it has only exceeded 50% once, and not since 2017. A part of the problem contributing to rock's diminishing presence is the lack of younger acts filling arenas as some of its icons retire. None of the genre's top 10 acts began touring in the 21st century, and just 2 of them dated back to the 1990s. The only asterisk is a Dead & Company, which originated in 2015, but tours in tribute to the Grateful Dead, which formed in 1965. So you had the Eagles on the list, you had Green Day on the list, you had the Rolling Stones on the list. Depeche Mode ended up coming in at number 9. Now, this again was for 2024. So this only includes the 2024 shows, not the 2023 shows when the tour first started. So, because I was kind of confused off of the number of shows, they had it at 63, and I'm like, they did more shows than that. And then I realized, this is just for the year of 2024. But they did come in at number 9, and for 2024, the band grossed $124.8 million. The attendance in 2024 was 910,000 tickets. Shows was 63. The all-genre rank for just 2024, they came in at number 25. So, listen, not a bad showing for a band that has survived the changeover from physical media to subscription streaming platforms and continues to be relevant when they go out on tour far beyond the other bands that were formed in the years surrounding when Depeche Mode was formed. So I guess it's a long way to say congratulations to Martin and Dave, and I think I speak for everybody listening to the show when I say I hope that they make more music in the future. I got one listener feedback this week. Everybody is busy with the holidays, completely understandable. Friend of the show, Chris Culpepper, writes, have you ever considered any DM releases a true concept record? I listened to a lot of progressive rock and thought, could any of DM's records be secretly a concept album? Not necessarily as obvious as, for example, as Tommy by The Who or The Wall by Pink Floyd, but there are definitely some lyrical conceptual threads that tie some records together. I believe the closest would be Black Celebration. The tracks and the themes weave in together. It is difficult for me to dissect Black Celebration. Flies on the Windscreen, A Question of Lust. It's a complete piece of music. The same for A Question of Time. Stripped, Here Is the House. World Full of Nothing. Just a thought. Thank you, John. I would, listen, and I'm kind of with you. I guess it really hinges upon what your definition of a concept album is. And I think that's kind of a moving target, and it's a bit subjective. I will say, though, that the trilogy, as I typically go and call it, being Music for the Masses, Violator, and Songs of Faith and Devotion, and I'll even include Black Celebration in there as sort of a quadrilogy. I think each of them in their own right are conceptual. I would agree with you on the cohesiveness of Black Celebration, but it's tough because when I think about the consistency of the way the songs sound, how many of the tracks are interlinked and flow from one into another on all 4 of those albums, I think they all cohesively as a musical package do fit some definitions of being concept albums. And I know, listen, at a young age, when I discovered Depeche Mode, they were the most experimental, doing air quotes, that thing with my fingers. They were the most experimental band that I had ever listened to. And it was challenging at parts, but it broadened my appreciation of art and music in how the records flowed. The things that were different from the typical top 40 radio that I was accustomed to listening to as a 14 or 15-year-old. where you could have these songs mix in and you have these samples and background noises and vocals and some things that are a little bit too naughty for somebody my age, which was certainly a draw to the music as well. But it opened up my mind and allowed me the opportunity to not be as judgmental hearing other styles of music and different concepts and the way that they would go and present their music that wasn't your traditional, again, 3-minute song that you would hear on any given radio station. Again, Depeche Mode really opened up my eyes, and I think for most of us, to a world of art even beyond the music itself. But those 4 albums in particular. And I think that, Songs of Faith and Devotion is really, really high up there for me in terms of the cohesiveness. But again, all four of those records really are cemented and rooted in what the band was attempting to do at the time. And listen, you can make arguments like this for albums post Songs of Faith and Devotion. I think Memento Mori fits into this category quite nicely. Even though some of the tracks are very distinct from one another, there is a cohesive feel to all of them. It's one of the things that's made Depeche Mode so special, in my opinion, is their ability to put out a complete package that simply has a vibe to it. And of course, we end up lending our own vibes to those albums based off of when we were first introduced to them, how much importance they placed in our lives at the time of those releases. I mean, it just all ends up becoming a piece of that musical soundscape. The soundtrack of our lives that Depeche Mode has been for all of these years. So, there's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Chris Culpepper, but I appreciate the query from, just giving me the opportunity to opine on that for a little bit. And, hey, anything that gives me the opportunity to talk about how great Depeche Mode is for a couple of minutes, I'm down with it. So I hope you had a fantastic Christmas and a great New Year's. And to you listening as well, I hope you did have a amazing Christmas and you're heading into an awesome New Year's. I'm not even halfway through my vacation yet, but again, I wanted to sit down and address that Netflix rumor, which I don't put any sort of credibility on, and give you, and provide myself the opportunity to once again wish you a happy new year, and I hope that your Christmas has been going well. Before I wrap things up, as always, if you want to support the podcast here, Depeche Mode the Podcast with me, Jon Justice, I am also a science fiction writer on top of being a podcast host and a radio host. And I injected a lot of Depeche Mode into my 7-book science fiction space opera adventure series. I wrote it because of my love of Star Wars. I wanted to create my own universe that I could play in. It started off with 1 book and it turned into 7 books. After Earth faces its end, follow pilots Taft, Keitha, and their crew on a journey of survival across the galaxy as they fight for humanity's future. You can head on over to Amazon.com and pick up any preferred version of the books in the series, whether it's ebook, Kindle Unlimited, hardcover, paperback, or audiobook. The stories are epic, filled with romance, really cool technology, a ton of action, written for adults, but completely age-appropriate for children 11 and up. I hope you'll take a moment, check out the series on Amazon.com, and if you haven't already, pick up book 1. Amazon.com, search for EMBARK, EMBARK, and Jon, Jon Justice. You can find the books there. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. I'll be back again after the new year. And as always, wherever you are, I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
Depeche Mode, the podcast.